Well, roughly 1/3 of Ukraine's population has been displaced since the start of the Russian invasion back in February.
Millions more have fled to Europe as Ukraine's humanitarian crisis intensifies. Former New York Governor George Pataki is spearheading several relief initiatives in response to the catastrophic damage the country has sustained. He recently traveled to Ukraine for the first time since Russia began its war there more than 4 months ago. And joining us now for more on this is former New York Governor George Pataki. Governor, welcome. It's so great to have you with us. Tell us a little bit more about your trip, what you saw there, and the initiatives you've been working
Well,
with.
thank you. And what you described is totally accurate. So many people displaced. So many have fled to Europe, other countries in Europe, but internally there are over 7 million internally displaced refugees. And when we went there, we visited many of them. Almost no men. It's women and children. Their husbands are left behind in the east to fight. And it's just heartbreaking. On the one hand, you see incredible courage, incredible resolve. Now, on the other hand, you see the suffering that they're going through. So what we're trying to do with the Pataki Center is just provide some humanitarian relief. Started with medicine and food. Now we're building temporary housing structures. And we hope to do more. Actually, I hope to be preempted by the big global entities. You hear about the billions in aid from the U.S. and NATO. You don't see a nickel of it on the ground in Ukraine. It's just not getting there. And so in the meantime, we're trying to fill the void, but I'm also trying to push our government and others to speed up the process and actually get the aid, humanitarian aid that's needed into Ukraine.
What's the disconnect?
Yeah.
Well, I'll just give you one example. The USAID is $2.5 billion. They turn it over to a Washington-based consultant, give $1.5 billion to them. They are now in the process of qualifying people for an RFP. I'm told we're working with Ukrainian NGOs. They're told it could take a year before they get qualified to apply for an RFP with a consulting firm that has the money. There's a war.
There's no time.
People need this now.
It sounds like bureaucracy.
It's bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It's incompetence, and the right leadership should cut through this and just say, get the money there now.
And how are you funding your initiatives?
All contributions, just volunteers who have donated money. We have a great team, still people on the ground in Ukraine now, all volunteers. We have no one who is paid. They're all doing it simply to try to provide humanitarian relief for those internally displaced Ukrainians.
Fantastic. You're doing that work.
Governor, I also want to ask you while we have you about a domestic conversation that we're having here in the United States. We are just days from that terrible 4th of July parade shooting in Highland Park, Illinois. Tanya traveled down to Uvalde, Texas to cover the mass shooting event that happened at an elementary school. And now it's been almost 2 months since a gunman entered that Tops supermarket in Buffalo, New York. 10 people were killed. What type of further action do you think needs to be taken to prevent tragedies like these from happening again?
Well, I think we need two things. One is we need intelligent gun laws. Congress took the first step, and it was really encouraging to see both parties come together and finally do something that has some meaning. But we need to build on that. And the second thing is mental health. There's no question about it. In almost every one of these cases, in the Tops case, in the Illinois case, they had clear warnings. The police had visited these people. And yet we don't have the ability to not just prevent them from getting guns, but to make sure they are provided with the mental health counseling they need. In almost every incident, it's not someone who is unknown to the police or school authorities that they pose a risk. But we don't do anything. That has got to change.
All right. And, we have to ask you, of course, because the stage is set for the New York gubernatorial race with Kathy Hochul taking on Lee Zeldin in the general election. Of course, you are a Republican who won in this largely Democratic state. So what is your take on that race?
To win as a Republican, you have to get 1.5 million Democrats to come vote for you. That's usually very difficult. But I think people see New York as headed in the wrong direction. This weekend, we had 51 shootings and 8 deaths in New York City. You talk about the deaths in Illinois. We had 8 people murdered in New York City this weekend. Crime is out of control. Mayor Adams is trying to get a handle on it, but he needs Albany. You have to change the no bail law. You have to tell prosecutors that as governor, I will remove you if you don't enforce the law. You are violating your oath of office. So I think given the situation in New York, it's rare that a Republican has a chance, but this year I think we do.
Very quickly, Governor, just one more to sneak in. As we look at the national landscape and the direction of the Republican Party now, you governed obviously at a very different time, and I wonder what your thoughts are about the direction of the Republican Party moving forward now.
I think we have to move beyond Trump. I think the January 6th hearings have made it plain that for the first time in our country's history, we had a president who did his best not to provide for the orderly transition of governments. And that is something that should disqualify him from ever holding public office again. And the party needs to move beyond it and come up with positive solutions to the problems. The Biden administration is failing on the border, on the economy, on energy, on so many issues. But we have to provide an alternative that people can look at and say, that's a better idea. We haven't done it yet. I hope we do.
Who's a Republican candidate that you would like to see run for president?
I'd like to see a governor. I think if you look at the history of this country, people who have that executive experience, who have had to govern and been held accountable, do a better job as a rule than people like legislators who have spent 45 years in the U.S. Senate and never been held accountable. So I think there are a lot of great governors out there, from Governor Sununu in New Hampshire, who nobody talks about, but he's been an unbelievable success, to Charlie Baker in Massachusetts, DeSantis in Florida. I think there are a great many people who would be a fresh face, move beyond Trump, have positive solutions that Americans, not just Republicans, but Americans can identify with.
But you feel confident that the Republican Party can move beyond Mr. Trump for the next presidential election?
We have to. If we don't, we're just going to be, instead of focusing on how we win the next one, we're going to be talking about how we really didn't lose the last one, but we did. And anybody who looks at it objectively or has watched those hearings at all understands that Trump's whole team knew that he lost. And if we can't move beyond that, we're not going to win.
And your message very quickly to those who sincerely believe that the election was stolen, because there are Americans who do believe that.
Yes, I understand that. First of all, look at the testimony of people, Trump's inner circle, people who were in the room, his own campaign manager and others telling him that we lost. And understand that maybe it wasn't a fair election. Maybe the media was unfair. Maybe they protected Joe Biden and censored anything to do with Hunter Biden. But on the vote totals, in states like Arizona, where a Republican legislature certified the results, we have to move on.
Former New York Governor George Pataki, thank you so much, Governor, for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.